How is it going, you beautiful fools? Legit requisite here, back with a new type of video from me. I've only done one guide video before, and it sucks, but I want to give it another go because I've been fighting Morgott a lot recently, and there really are a lot of neat tips and tricks for no-hitting him that I think everyone should have a chance to try out. If you're wanting to learn all this stuff as quickly as possible, I'd honestly recommend just watching Ongball videos and copying what he does. But if you're looking for a more in-depth guide and some deeper insight into Morgott's behavior, then this is the right video for you. So let's get into it. So the first thing that I want to talk about before we start getting into his moves and dodges and strafes and all that fun stuff is positioning. So you notice in a lot of this footage, I'm at what I consider mid-range. This is optimal for Morgott because he jumps around and there's a lot of verticality in his moveset. So if you're at this particular range for him, it really keeps the camera in a good spot. So it's not getting screwed up and you're getting confused. And it also really helps you to outspace a lot of his attacks and dodge the way that you want to. So real quick, we're just going to cover two pretty simple attacks. The first is this magic spear. Every single time he throws it at you, there's a pretty good chance that he's going to jump into the air and just Jujutsu Kaisen float towards you. So after you dodge the spear, you just unlock the camera and sprint under his body. You don't have to dodge roll. If you sprint towards him, then he's just going to miss you entirely. And then you can turn and hit him with a couple R1s, or here I used a charged R2. And he's very likely to follow this up with a tail swipe. For the tail swipe, I like to move to the left a little bit. And then when I jump over it, I hold right on the analog stick so that it carries me completely over the tail and I'm not risking getting clipped by the latter half of that attack. So this next move is actually a really good tool to keep Morgott exactly where you want him to be. So he slides along to your left and then swipes to the right. You can see I move along the left side of his body in order to point him more towards the center of the ring. Every time he uses this move, it's an opportunity to keep him positioned exactly where you want him to be and away from the walls so that when you're strafing and sprinting and dodging, you don't end up running into it and getting caught. So this next punish we're going to be looking at is actually the bread and butter of fighting Morgott because you're going to be using it a lot and it's actually one of the hardest things to learn. He follows up a lot of his combos with this massive delayed magic hammer horizontal swipe attack. And if you bait it out, you can actually use it as a punish quite a bit. So you see, I see this downward attack coming. I dodge inward to bait out this double dagger swipe. And every single time that he uses this double dagger swipe, he follows it up with the hammer attack. Now, the way to actually dodge this attack, you can see after I go in to bait out the double dagger swipe, I dodge backwards, and then I dodge to the right. I unlock the camera, and then I sprint around his body. And this is going to bypass the sword and the hammer. It's important that you dodge backwards because if you run around his body too quickly, he'll actually retrack you, spin around the wrong way, and then just lambaste you with the hammer. So the next attack that we're going to look at is, in my opinion, the most interesting one in his arsenal, and it's the reason why I call him the breakdancing baby daddy. So every time he uses this big downward hammer swing, if you dodge somewhere in front or to his side, he will almost always follow it up with this insane attack where he jumps up in the air, he does all these flips, and he just swings his swords, and it's all very beautiful and majestic and really interesting. And he always leaves himself wide open after he finishes up that attack. So there are actually a few different ways to dodge this attack, and all of them are a lot of fun to do. Here, I'm going to show you the safe version. I dodge the hammer swing, and then I'm going to dodge backwards to avoid that first sword swipe. It has a really good chance of clipping you if you're too close. And then I just sprint away and then a little bit to the left so I can keep him in the camera view and line up this next dodge when he brings both of his swords down. So this next dodge has some interesting mechanical things going on behind the scenes. He does the side flip and then he does the sword swipe and he slides along next to you. You can see here, I'm going to sprint toward him for just a tiny bit and then sprint away from him, and it baits out this attack. And then here, I don't even have to sprint for the entire duration of the attack because I've already completely outspaced it. And then you just dodge the double sword slam, and then you can punish the same way as the first dodge. Here, I wanted to show you that if you use this exact same dodge method in second phase, it baits out his grab attack every single time. The final method for dodging this attack is definitely the most flashy and the most fun. So after he slides next to you, you're going to want to sprint to the left side of his body and then dodge this first initial sword swipe. Once you've done that, you're pretty much good. All you really have to do is walk to the left to strafe all the rest of his sword swings, and as soon as you feel comfortable, you can start charging up your R2. Here, this Colossal that I'm using is level 1, so it doesn't really do that big of a bonk, but I just wanted to show you that even with a really slow-moving weapon, you can still fit in a really good attack after this strafe. So here I'm going to cover a few things that I'm pretty sure are common knowledge. In second phase, he starts doing this attack where he puts both of his hands on his sword and he holds it over his head for a really delayed period of time. You can see right here he's winding it up. Morgott does this attack too, and you can just do it the exact same way. You just strafe to his right and you can charge up an attack and he will just completely miss you. This is what I figure everybody pretty much already knows about, but for his phase transition, after you dodge the initial eruption, you just unlock the camera, and then you can just kind of squeak your way in between all these eruptions to get in a couple of extra hits. So this next method is really just a movement tech that I like to employ to keep the pace of the fight really fast and to keep the spacing in a really good spot. Morgott likes to jump away a lot. So what I like to do is I like to sprint to the side to keep my spacing good. And then if you block while you jump, it actually speeds up the animation for when you land so you can get right back into the fight. So for this last section of the video, I think we've all had our fill of yappery. So I'm just going to play a bit of footage and show you how all of this stuff works together to make a really, really interesting fight.